Hi, everybody. I'm Alex. I'm an alcoholic. I have been through these steps as they're laid out in the big book with the help of a big book step study sponsor. The grace and undeserved grace of my higher power, who I call God. Um, Friends like Eric, rooms like these. I've made some amends. I still have a lot to go, and I'm doing my best to do 10, 11, and 12 on a daily basis. Um, just to kind of give the bullet points, before I get into this, um, I'm coming up on 2 years, I think next month, end of next month, middle of next month. It's only been maybe 3 months, 2.5 months since I have read my fifth step and made some amends. So I'm still learning these latter steps. Um, and so I won't be speaking on a great ton of experience with it, um, but mainly because I'm 6 and 7, I'm still going through. Um, I spoke on this a couple weeks ago. I shared on this a couple weeks ago. You know, we talk about it. It talks about are we now ready to let go? Are we ready to give God all of us, good and bad? Um, when I when I did this, I was very, very, very sincere in doing so. I had read my fifth step. I did all my resentments, my fear, my sex with my sponsor, and I felt relief. I felt great, um, and I was into it. I mean, I was ready to roll. Um, but again, just to give you, kind of the highlights on me, so this makes a little bit of sense. You know, when I was 12 years old, I was an altar boy at the local Episcopal church, and every Sunday, my father, my mother, my brother, and I would go to church and, do my best to behave more or less and try to take in what they were telling me. And while doing so, my father dropped dead of a heart aneurysm. Um, so you can imagine how I looked at God moving forward. Um, you know, my my thinking um, immediately, I didn't realize until doing this work, immediately changed then. How I looked at loss, how I looked at people, how I looked at God. I took on a very self-centered view of life and things. Um, I used to tell people starting in junior high that God and I have our own arrangement. I was arrogant enough to be able to tell people that we have our own arrangement. He leaves me alone and I leave him alone. Um, so, of course, it goes along with this, anything to uh, remove possibility of feeling anything. My mom, God bless her, and no offense against Irish Catholics, was not one to talk about emotions or how you were feeling or how you were doing. Um, you cracked your knuckles and you went on with your day and you didn't speak about it. So I took on the idea that I will bury all of this and everything will be fine. And as you can see from where I'm sitting right now, you can see how that ended up. Um, I immediately started in junior high with drugs and alcohol. And, up until a couple of years ago, I went for almost 35 years. Um, you know, I don't regret all of it. I certainly had a lot of fun and met a lot of great people. But, for the last 10 years, I'm drinking every day heavily. And before I came into the Sunday morning group that Eric and I are a part of, I was very thoughtfully thinking about how to kill myself. I was not waking up in the morning going, oh, shucks, I'm alive. Fine, I'll go on with today. Or going to bed at night and being like, if I don't wake up, that's fine. I was out of my mind and thinking of exactly how to do it. Um, the funny part about that is it I wasn't trying to. It was not a conscious thing. It was like if I had a leg cramp or a twitch or something, it I couldn't get rid of the thought. Um, my idea for a little while was to keep drinking more because that helps. And all of this brought me here. Uh, you know, I remember my first meeting that I ever went to. It was a beginner's meeting. A friend of mine who has been in this program actually for a very long time took me to it. And uh, I didn't know anything. It was the first time I said I'm an alcoholic. And after the meeting, during the meeting, everybody was talking about God and their higher power. And the word surrender kept coming up over and over and over and over and over again. In a 1 hour meeting, I bet you they said it 100 times. I'm not, at least in my mind. And so we get in the car. And again, I've known this guy for a very long time. He said, "So what did you think?" And I said, "Surrender, huh?" And he just burst out laughing. And he's like, "I knew you were going to say that." Um, I tell this story because with 6 and 7, that's that's the final surrender, so to speak. Step 2 is realizing that you need a higher power. Step 3 is saying, "Okay, I'm going to go through with this. God, let's do this." And finally, you do the work, and here you are. Here's where here's where the rubber meets the road. Uh, my sponsor said, as I'm sure you all have heard, after you read your fifth step, go take an hour, quiet, peacefully, take it with God. Make sure you haven't left anything out. Make sure you're ready to do this. And I did that. The first 9 minutes were kind of funny. I'm not one to sit still. I sat down. I set a timer on my phone for an hour. I went down to the beach. It was a full moon. I mean, it was beautiful. Um, and I sat there and I got very, very quiet. And I was like, "Oh my God!" And I opened my eyes. I'm like, "Wow, that must have been 40 minutes." I looked down. It had been 9. So I was able to get quiet again and do it again. Um, you know, and afterwards, uh, I can't describe the feeling. Other people are able to. I'm not. I don't know if it's peace. I don't know if it's relief. I think best describes it more easily for me. Um, you just don't feel as heavy. You're not as tense, and I did. I felt that, and um, I was sincere. I did not leave anything out. Um, what I've realized lately is um, that I did. Again, not on purpose. I wasn't trying to dupe my sponsor, certainly not myself. I heard the consequences of that. And it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't intentional. I just didn't look at certain things in my past the way I needed to. I didn't look at I wasn't quite looking at my program the way I needed to. Um, and, um, that's all on me. I certainly don't blame anybody. I'm still sober. I'm still in the program. So, thank God for that. Um, but I've recently have kind of had to go back. And I'm, I'm doing a step 10. I'm some resentments of some people that I had in my writing um, that I'm kind of redoing, and then certainly some new people in my life um, because I got away from the program a little bit. Uh, you know, uh, Work has been busy. I've been sober for the last 2 years. People have offered for me to take on more, which I did, and that's all been fine and good. But they're very long days. Not an excuse, but you do. your morning, oh, I missed my morning prayer. You try to do it in the car. You come home, you're like, oh my God, you get into bed, you're about to fall asleep, you're like, oh my God, I forgot to do my inventory of the day. And then throughout the day, I deal with a lot of people. My job is very busy. I deal with a lot of people every day, and uh, my will, my self-centeredness, my ego, my whatever you want to call it, can snap on like that. And you know, most people on a normal day will call me the gentle giant, but once that once that switch flips, I am not nice. I'm manic. I want everybody to do what I want. I want you to feel a certain way. Um, because I want you to feel bad. I want you to see what you did wrong, and that, as we know, gets you nowhere. You might as well get mad at the weather. Um, it's it will drive you to insanity. That self-centered thinking, like I said, will get me in an easy chair right next to me with a bunch of empty bottles around me, thinking about how to kill myself. That's what it is, because it never works. Um, so, like I said, I'm going back, not everything, um, but certainly some things have cropped up that clearly I didn't iron all the way out in my 4 step. Uh, I've even had to go so far. I had to get these little bracelet, these little whatever they're called, these little rubber bracelets around my wrist, and it says "Thy will be done" on it, and I put those there for reminders. Um, and Eric, I have a bunch if you want one, or anybody else who's local, because I need that. Like I said, I deal with a lot of people. My job's very busy, and it's very, very easy for me to forget who's really in charge. Um, because if you give me even a sniff that I might be, that's trouble for me. And it could be trouble for people around me. Because like I said, I can get manic, I can get demanding, and very short on why you don't see it the way I do. And, you know, that is a recipe to get a bottle of Tito's and God knows whatever else. Um, so again, you know, am I ready to now let God remove all the things um, uh, which we have admitted are objectionable? You can certainly have those. Heck yeah, absolutely. Can he take them all, every single one? The good and the bad? That will be, like it says later on, in 84 to 88, like this is something we will continue to do for the rest of our lives. Um, and 6 and 7 will be that for me. Every step in this book, one all the way, to where we are tonight, has been for me a journey on becoming connected with God, becoming God conscious, like they say. Uh, like I said, surrender. In my first meeting, we laughed at. I'm like, how is that possible? You know, I was brought to my knees. Step 2 was easy for me, only because I knew I needed something, someone, whatever it was. You could have told me I had to eat this book instead of read it, and I would have eaten this book. I mean, that's where I was. Step 3, sure, let's go. Um, and I kind of chuckled at him at first when they told me, when my sponsor, well, I mean, I kind of had an idea on how this worked. My sponsor laid it out, and I'm like, sure. I chose the sponsor I have because he is incredibly spiritual. Um, Eric knows me, he goes to our meeting, and I chose him because he is so polar opposite of me. There's a million guys in our meetings that I'm exactly like, guys I hung out with, guys I ran with once upon a time. So I had to go the complete opposite direction. And God bless him, because every step there has been, that gut punch moment where it was like, oh my God, this is working. That, but this is, my connectedness just keeps expanding. And, you know, this step in particular, um, if you haven't gone through it, if you're creeping up on this, this is more important, certainly, than I ever gave it credit for. We look at it like two paragraphs, 6 and 7, sit for an hour, done. Because my 4-step took almost a year and a half, about a year and a half. And now you're telling me I can do 2 more steps in an hour? Piece of cake. Um, and uh, they are just as big. These 2 steps are just as big as anything else in this book. Um, I will continue to work every single day on giving all I can, all of myself. I certainly, I mean, I can honestly say that it's not all the way 100% there. Um, I don't know what percentage it is. It's not overwhelmingly large. I can say that, but I do work at it. I do snap these things on my wrist. I don't know how many times a day, like, wake up, dummy, and this ain't your show. Um, and hopefully, you know, I'll keep chasing this. I'll keep chasing that idea that, God, you can have all this, and hopefully I can be who you need me to be, because what I thought I needed to be was not fun. um, so you know, that's really my experience with this step. Like, like I said, it's something I'm still working on. And I only till recently realized that, 6 and 7 is going to go with me, like 9, like 10, 11, and 12 are going to. I'm going to do my best to live it every day. 6 and 7, I'm going to do my best to live it every day, and try to give all that I can, or turn over as much as I can. Um, Again, thank you all for listening. Eric, thank you for this. Thank you for putting on this meeting and everything. And look forward to hearing you all. Thank you.